Bezos Hashem Yisborach Erev Shabbos Kodesh Parashat Korach Shnas Tovshin Pei Dalet. The President of America, the President Joe Biden, he had this idea he was very worried for the people of Gaza, so he decided he's going to bring a floating pier from America all the way down the Mediterranean Sea to build it off the shores of Gaza, in order that on this pier they will be able to build a kitchen which can supply no less, something like around 2 million meals a day, something like that. An amazing amount of food to send into Gaza. So he spent on taxpayers' money, I think millions of dollars, to bring it over the sea till it arrived off the shores of Gaza. Now, this is made of lots of different parts, and they needed to connect these parts together. And you may have heard in the news that there was strong waves off the shore of Gaza, and they woke up one morning, they found one part off the shores of Tel Aviv. They brought it back, and then there was a bit of a storm, and then they found it all the way in Akko, all the way in the north of Israel. It was just disconnecting these parts, and they weren't able to build the pier. I think up to today they're still not able to put it together in a way that they can build on top the kitchen. Says the holy Rabbi Shiur Bar Yochai. This is to illustrate what Shiur Bar Yochai says on the Pasuk in Devarim, Vayhi b'shurun melech. Hashem is a king when we are all gathered together, Yachad Shiftei Yisrael, united the tribes of Israel. Now, first of all, when you speak about tribes, how are you united? If you're a tribe, you're not united, yeah? So in Lashon HaKodesh, most amazing thing. There's always depth. Everything in Lashon HaKodesh. Actually, yes, I just realized that I say hotel in Lashon HaKodesh, it's called Malon, Bet Malon, right? Now, lon, lina, the shorish of lon means lina, to sleep over. Lina, overnight, is lon, to sleep over. So malon, it's a place where you sleep overnight. So it's amazing depth in Lashon HaKodesh, a place where a person can rest. Now, when it says Yachad Shiftei Yisrael, Yachad stands for Yesh Chilukei Deos. And therefore there are tribes in Am Yisrael. Where everyone has a Shevet Levi, Shevet Reuven, Shevet Malchus, Yehuda. But we know that even so everyone has a different da'at, but we come together and we respect each other. When there is an Achdus, that is when we are united, that is when the Ribono Shel Olam Beis As is a Melech and a king. Said Rabbi Shiur Bar Yochai on this Pasuk, the most moshul. He said as follows, Moshel lo Adam she'oyo lo shnei sfinas. A man had two boats. He connected them together like the pier of Mr. Joe Biden. He connected them together and he built a beautiful palace. So as long as the piers are connected, then you can build a beautiful palace. But the minute they disconnect, then it destroys the whole building that you built. Says Rabbi Shiur Bar Yochai, this is idea in Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael is only when we are united. Then you can build the palace and you can build Am Yisrael, can you anoint HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a king. And this is what we learn, what happened by Korach. Korach, many people say, what did he do? Korach, if you look at the Gematria, Korach is how much? 308. Soch, speaking in Hebrew, is 308. Korach can say, I was only speaking. Korach teaches us the greatest of speech. Something about machloikas, people say, I'm only saying, I just said, I'm only speaking. Korach is soch. Look what speech that Korach, what he did through speech. How he was able to divide Am Yisrael. And that was what happened in this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha, we were Yachad Shiftei Yisrael, united under the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu, and Korach wanted to break this pier. He wanted to break this island, and wanted to bring a divide and delegitimize the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu had to stand and made a test to show that Korach was ultimately sunk in the ground when Moshe Rabbeinu's leadership was reconfirmed. So this is when we see in Am Yisrael the greatest, what keeps The Am Yisrael ba'achdos, what keeps this, all the parts together in Am Yisrael? It's a Gedoyle Yisrael. When there's achdos behind the Godel Yisrael, then everyone together, we don't have to be all the same, but we follow the same direction. They teach us the way we are able to go, and then we are united. This is what keeps us appear together and united. But when somebody starts to divide, then it causes a destruction in Am Yisrael. We see it throughout the history of Am Yisrael, the same idea. We see there are stories in the Gemara of Rabban Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel was the Nasi Yisrael after the second Churban Beis HaMikdash. And it was in Yavne, no less. A few years after the destruction, he reinstituted the Sanhedrin. He said, we don't have the Beis HaMikdash, we don't have the Lishkas HaGozis. They decided ultimately what should be. Am Yisrael can become divided. So he made a Yavne, a Sanhedrin in Yavne, and they will be the deciding, the people who will decide for all of Am Yisrael, will be united under the leadership of the Beis HaMedrash and the Sanhedrin, which he established in Yavne after the Churban Beis HaMikdash. And we see that Rabbi Gamliel, whenever somebody challenged this Sanhedrin, so they went to great length to prove that the Sanhedrin is, at the end of the day, their psak stays true. I'd like to share two stories. There's one story was in Baba Metzia, Daf Nun Tes. There was a big argument between Rebbe Eliezer and all the Chachomim of Yavne. Rebbe Eliezer, one of the Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he said that this certain oven does not be Mekabel Tumah. All the other rabbis said this oven does become tumah, is eligible to become tumah. So Rebbe Eliezer said, listen, I'm telling you the halacha is that this oven does not become tumah. That is the halacha. And if I'm right, you will see the carob tree will prove I'm right. Everyone looked at the carob tree, and the carob tree hopped 100 amos down the road. No, it's a miracle. Hashem's speaking to us. He's saying Rebbe Eliezer's right. No. Rabbi Akiva, the Rabbanos says we don't bring halachos from carob trees. So he said this river that's flowing downwards, it will now go in an up direction. And that's what happened, started to flow upwards. No, we don't bring rayas from rivers. Said the walls of the Beis HaMedrash, you see the walls, they will bend in, and they started to bend in. No, we don't bring raya from the walls. Ultimately, there was a bat call that came from Shemaim and said, Rabbi Yisai, the halacha is like Rebbe Eliezer. Torah loy b'Shemayim. I'm sorry, we are Sanhedrin, and Torah is not in Shemayim. We received the Torah, and according to our das, and the das of the majority of Rabbonim, it is eligible to become Tomei, and that's halacha. And Rebbe Eliezer didn't want to accept the halacha. He couldn't accept it. They put him in a chayrim, Hashem Racham, in chayrim. And then ultimately Rabbi Gamliel, the Gemara says, was on a ship, on a voyage, and there was this huge storm which was going to sink the ship. And he realized that maybe it's because of the actions he took against Rebbe Eliezer. And he said, Ribono shel olam, goluv yodua lefonecha, you know, I didn't do it for my own honor and not for the honor of my family. I did it shelo yirbu machlokas beYisrael. I did it for all generations, for all the times people will challenge the Sanhedrin. They will always know it makes no difference. You can bring the greatest miracles. The bas koil, I have my Rav. My Rav gives me a direction in life. And this was a moment of Gamliel after the Churban was illustrated through these stories, is to show the chashivas of the Godel, of the Anhoga of the generation. And there's another story, Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Yeshua, the second Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he didn't accept Rabbi Gamliel when he has said, when is Rosh Chodesh? According to him, Yom Kippur was the day before Rabbi Gamliel's Yom Kippur. And if I'm not mistaken, either the day before or the day after. And Rabbi Gamliel said to him, on your day of Yom Kippur, I want you to come with me carrying your money, carrying the staff, your stick, on your Yom Kippur. Carrying money, you're not even allowed to carry. And Rabbi Yeshua didn't know what to do, and they said, Rabbi Akiva said, this is how it is. These are the Sanhedrin, and we cannot challenge the achlot of the Sanhedrin. And then he said, he arrived to Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel, what did he say? He said as follows, V'noshkoi al roishoi. He kissed him on his head, V'omaloi, Boi b'soloim. Rebbe v'talmidi, my Rebbe, Rabbi Yeshua, Talmidi, my student. And explain, Rebbe b'chochma v'talmidi b'shekibalta devorai. You accepted my psak. So we see that throughout the generations, the leadership of the Gedolim, from the times when Korach, he challenged the leadership of Moshe, but it was especially through the Golus. Reb Gamliel instituted this idea, the Sanhedrin, and the Sanhedrin is, even Rabbi Eliezer, even Rabbi Yeshua, there's a psak of the Rav, what I have to do. I just recently saw the story from the Holy Mashkiach who was Nifter not so long ago, a week ago, Rabbi Wolfson. Rabbi Wolfson, he was a young bocher in America, and he said over that in the time of Shraga Feivel Mendelovich, the Chetzadik Livrocha, he initiated a school, a type of yeshiva for all future educators. He knew that America is going to become Mokum Torah, and to make it into a wellspring of Torah, you need educators. And educators at the higher level, the higher caliber. So he took the best bochrim, one of them was Reb Wolfson, and he established a yeshiva called Eish Tos, which not only do they learn Gemara, they're learning as well psychology of how to run a class in certain ways, how to understand the children, other teachers to teach them diktuk, on top of the learning of the Gemara. And he was so happy with this, was successful for 6 months. It was the most amazing thing. The future educators, they're going to Gemara, psychology, they're going to know everything. But after 6 months, Shraga Feivel Mendelovich came in the yeshiva and says, Moira Rabbi Yisai, I'm closing Eish Tos, everyone should go to yeshiva's Torah V'das. Go back to yeshiva. So what happened? So I met the holy Reb Shlomo Heinman, who was then the Godel B'Yisrael in America, and he said to me, they want to learn psychology, they can learn somewhere else. But in one building, this is not called a yeshiva. A yeshiva is where there's only Torah. Torah is like Moshe Rabbeinu taught Torah, Yeshua, in Bovel they learned Torah. It was a place where you learned only Divrei Elokim Chayim, what is said in the Gemara, the Rambam, Shulchan Aruch. This is yeshiva. Your building, said Reb Shlomo Heinman to Reb Shraga Feivel Mendelovich, that's not a yeshiva. It's not a tzuras yeshiva. You're breaking away from the traditional yeshiva to Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what you want. And Reb Shagafai, today we're closing the yeshiva. Go to Torah V'das, learn Torah, and that's what Reb Wolfson went to Torah V'das, and eventually became the great Godel B'Yisrael. We see from here so often, a person can think that what is, I have my own ideas, but what keeps us all together, Yachad Shiftei Yisrael, Yesh Chilukei Deyos. But what puts a pair, all the pieces together, is the following of a Godel B'Yisrael. They teach us, they lead us along the way. This is why it says that the Gedolei Yisrael are like stars. Tzadikim kekechovim. What does it mean like the stars? The answer is, because if you know, there are sailors, captains of the ship, they sometimes have to navigate the ship even in the dark seas. Now, in the dark sea, you don't know where you're going. Am I going north, west? Where am I going? Where am I traveling? So they would look in the skies and see the stars. It's called celestial navigation. And looking at the stars, they will know exactly which direction they need to go. It's the most amazing thing. I once read a book about it. It's the most amazing. You can mumbish look up and you'll know where north, west, and you'll know exactly which direction to follow. So you can travel for hours. Throughout the nights, the dark nights in the oceans, you will always know you're going in the right direction by following the stars. These are the tzaddikim in the Golus. In the Golus, we may not have the Beis HaMikdash, we don't have the sun, we don't have directions, the Urim V'Tumim. But the Lishkas HaGozis of the Beis HaMikdash. But we have the tzaddikim. The tzaddikim are the stars on the night of the Golus, which they give us a direction. And we follow their direction. In the darkest Golus, we ask them advice. We connect to the Gedolei Adoir, and then we are able to know. We know, on our conscience, we always know we're going in the right way in Avodas Hashem. This is a greatness. May we be zoicha to learn from this parsha the great of what it means, the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu, the leadership of Gedolei Yisrael. May we be zoicha to Shabbos Shulem and Avodah.